Hey everyone, waving hand. Before I get into this, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a comment with your thoughts. I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting, or if what happened to me is as insane as it feels. So here's my story. I'm Daniel, 38M, married to Marissa, 36F, for 12 years. We've got 2 kids, our daughter is 10, our son is 7, and then there's Max, our golden retriever, who I swear has a built-in lie detector. He gives judgmental looks that could win awards. From the outside, we looked like the perfect little family. You know the type: soccer practice on Saturdays, backyard barbecues in the summer, pancakes on Sunday mornings. I'm an accountant, yes, the kind who color codes his spreadsheets for fun, and Marissa is a yoga instructor at a local studio. Neighbors used to call us the couple who had it all. But perfect is just a paint job. Underneath, the cracks were forming. I started noticing Marissa's extra yoga classes multiplying like weeds. Nights she never worked before, weekends she used to keep free, suddenly she was booked. At first, I told myself it was fine. People hustle. She loved her work. Then one night, I joked, how many times a week can a person do downward dog? She laughed, but it wasn't the kind of laugh you share with your spouse. It was forced, too loud, like she was covering something. And then she switched the subject out of nowhere. To broccoli prices. Broccoli. That moment stuck with me like a splinter. Still, I let it slide. I didn't want to believe the worst. We had kids. History. A life together. But the cracks became a canyon on our wedding anniversary. I thought she had something special planned, maybe a gift, maybe just a night together. Instead, what I unwrapped that day was the truth, and it was the ugliest present I've ever received. And it all started with Max, wagging his tail at the front door like he knew a guest had arrived. Our anniversary was supposed to be special. 12 years of marriage, 2 kids, and all the messy but beautiful history in between. I left work early, picked up her favorite flowers, and even grabbed a bottle of wine that I'd been saving. I wanted the night to feel like a reminder of who we used to be. When I pulled into the driveway, Max was already sitting by the front door, tail wagging like crazy. That was odd. Max only did that when someone was inside, and not just anyone, but someone he liked. With me, he barely stands up. With the kids, he trots. But when it's a guest, he transforms into a golden retriever welcome committee. I opened the door and immediately heard it, laughter. Not kids' laughter. Not the TV. It was Marissa's voice, light and high-pitched, the kind of laugh she hadn't used with me in years. And then a man's voice, low and easy. My stomach dropped. I followed the sound through the hall, past the dining room where I'd imagined we'd eat dinner together that night. In the kitchen, I stopped cold. Marissa was leaning against the counter, holding a glass of wine. Across from her, glass in hand, was the UPS courier, the same guy who drops off packages on our porch, the one who knows how often I order printer ink and bulk protein powder. They were close. Too close. Smiling at each other like this was their anniversary, not mine. She spotted me and froze. He froze too. Max patted in and plopped down at my feet, tail still wagging like, "See, Dad? I told you." "Baby, it's not what you think," Marissa stammered, her voice climbing a full octave. I just raised an eyebrow and said, "Really?" "Because it looks like Prime Delivery came with a free wine tasting." Her face went red, then twisted. "Oh my God, Daniel. Don't be ridiculous." He just stopped by with a package and I offered him a drink. "You're embarrassing yourself." The UPS guy looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But there was no package on the counter. No excuse that made sense. Just 2 glasses of wine, laughter, and the look on her face when she realized she'd been caught. And that was the moment I knew, my anniversary gift wasn't flowers or dinner or even an apology. It was the truth I never wanted, right there in my kitchen. When I walked into that kitchen and saw Marissa with the UPS guy, the anniversary flowers still in my hand, I think a part of me just shut down. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the wine glasses. I just stared. She scrambled to fill the silence. "Baby, it's not what it looks like. He just brought a package and we got to talking. I offered him a drink to be polite. You're blowing this way out of proportion." I set the flowers on the counter. "Really?" "Because I don't see a package anywhere. What I do see is 2 glasses of wine, and my wife laughing like it's date night with the delivery guy." Her face hardened instantly. Gone was the stammering, guilty tone. "Oh my God, Daniel. You're paranoid. Do you know how embarrassing this is? You come home early, snooping around like some jealous detective. No wonder I need a break sometimes." That stung. On our anniversary, no less. I pressed her. "You've been sneaking off 4 extra yoga classes at all hours. Now this? Just tell me the truth, Marissa. Are you seeing him?" She laughed, loud, fake, defensive. "Are you serious? The UPS guy? You think I'd risk everything for him? Don't be pathetic. I can't believe you'd accuse me of that. God, you've gotten so boring, so suspicious. It's like you want there to be a problem." Every word out of her mouth was a knife. Not just denial, but flipping the script, making me out to be the villain. The UPS guy muttered something about needing to leave and bolted. Smart man. That left just me, Marissa, and Max, who sat in the doorway, tail thumping like he was waiting for the next reveal. I looked at her one last time and said, "If this is your anniversary gift, Marissa, you can keep it." Then I walked out before the anger boiling in my chest turned into something I couldn't take back. But inside, I knew I couldn't just let this go. I needed proof. Because her lies weren't cracks anymore, they were walls she was building between us. And I was ready to start tearing them down. I wish I could tell you I stormed out of the house that night and never looked back. I wish I could say I had some Hollywood-worthy comeback that left Marissa speechless. But the truth? I walked Max around the block 3 times until my legs felt like concrete, and then I sat in the driveway staring at the dashboard, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. It was our anniversary. I'd pictured a quiet dinner, maybe some wine, maybe even us laughing about the old days. Instead, I got to watch my wife pour our wine into the glass of a man who delivers cardboard boxes for a living. The anger came first, a hot rush that made my chest tight. Then came the humiliation. How many people knew before me? Did the neighbors notice? Did the kids pick up on it? Did everyone see me as the idiot husband with his head buried in spreadsheets while his wife found excitement elsewhere? And then the sadness. That was the worst part. Because underneath all the lies, all the fake laughs, there was still 12 years of memories. Pancake Sundays. Late night talks when we were younger. The look on her face when she first held our daughter. I hated her for what she was doing, but I hated myself even more for still loving the version of her I thought was real. When I finally went back inside, she was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone like nothing happened. Not an apology. Not an ounce of guilt. Just silence. Are we really going to pretend this didn't happen? I asked. She didn't even look up. Daniel, you're overreacting. You're so dramatic sometimes. Do you want me to beg forgiveness for offering someone a drink? Grow up. That word, dramatic, hit me harder than anything. Because if I was the dramatic one, why did my hands still shake? Why did my chest feel like it was caving in? Why did my world just tilt off its axis while she sat there texting like nothing mattered? That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there with Max snoring at my feet, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was the beginning of the end or if I'd been blind to the end a long time ago. After the anniversary disaster, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was living in someone else's life. Every glance, every sound, every offhand comment from Marissa felt like another clue. And once you start looking, you can't stop. The first blow came from our daughter. She was working on a school project, a family drawing. She proudly showed me her crayon masterpiece, stick figure mommy, daddy, her brother, and another man. "Sweetheart," I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, "who's that?" "That's the man who brings boxes," she chirped. "He's funny. Mommy says he helps carry heavy things when daddy's not home." My stomach dropped. It wasn't just me seeing shadows anymore. My kids were part of this circus, and Marissa was dragging them into her lie-filled reality. Later that week, the teacher emailed. "Polite, professional, but concerned. Your daughter mentioned her mom has 2 boyfriends, Daddy and the box man. I thought I should bring it to your attention." I swear my blood pressure spiked so high I saw stars. Not only was I being betrayed in my own house, now the school probably thought I was some kind of clueless fool. When I confronted Marissa about it, she didn't even blink. She actually laughed. "Oh my God, Daniel. She's a kid. Kids make things up. Are you seriously believing a crayon drawing? You're pathetic. Pathetic." That word again. Always tossed like a grenade when she was cornered. But the pathetic husband in me started digging. Bank statements, credit card charges, the little paper trail people forget about. And sure enough, there it was, charges at a wine bar across town, Uber rides that didn't line up with her class schedule, and a boutique hotel with wellness spa in the name, billed twice in the same month. When I asked her, she went straight to defensive mode. "Those were girls' nights. Do you want me chained to this house like your little Stepford wife? God, Daniel, you smother me." Every lie was like a slap. And every "you're crazy" made me feel more certain that I wasn't. Because Max, the kids, the receipts, they were all screaming the same truth. I just needed the smoking gun. By this point, I was running on suspicion and caffeine. Every time Marissa said "private class" or "late client," my stomach twisted. The receipts, the drawings, Max's wagging tail, it all added up. But she was slippery, always turning it around, always making me feel like the crazy one. So I did what any paranoid accountant with trust issues would do, I started tracking. One Saturday morning, she announced she had a special yoga workshop. She grabbed her mat, kissed the kids on the head, and bolted before I could even finish my coffee. I waited 15 minutes, then loaded Max into the car. If she was lying, he deserved to be the first to know. She didn't drive toward the studio. She drove straight across town to that wellness spa hotel I'd seen on the statement. I parked a few rows back, Max panting in the back seat like he knew the show was about to start. 10 minutes later, Mr. UPS Romeo pulled up. No uniform this time, just jeans, a polo shirt, and the smug grin of a man who clearly thought he'd won. He walked straight up to her car, leaned in, kissed her like it was the most normal thing in the world, and together they strolled into the hotel hand in hand. My heart dropped through the floor. It was one thing to suspect, another to find receipts, another to hear my kid talk about the box man. But to see it? To watch my wife, on our anniversary weekend, no less, walk into a hotel with another man. That was the death certificate for our marriage. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly the pictures came out blurry, but you could still make out the two of them. Time-stamped. Undeniable. That night, she came home glowing, hair messy, makeup smudged just enough to give her away. She dropped her yoga mat in the corner like she'd actually stretched a muscle that day. I was waiting in the kitchen with the photos spread out on the table. She froze. For 1 second, her face cracked, guilt, fear, the whole mask slipping. But then she smirked, like she'd rehearsed this moment. You followed me? Wow. That's disgusting, Daniel. You're a stalker. Do you know how creepy that is? I stared at her. A stalker? That's what you're going with? Not the fact that you spent our anniversary weekend in a hotel with the UPS guy. She rolled her eyes. You're pathetic. You bore me to death, and at least he makes me feel alive. Do you even hear yourself? Tracking me, spying. No wonder I wanted out. And that was it. No apology. No shame. Just a bitchy shrug and the audacity to blame me for her lies. Something inside me snapped. Not with yelling, not with rage. But with clarity. Because in that moment, I knew, our marriage wasn't cracked anymore. It was rubble. After that night, everything in the house felt poisoned. The walls that once held Sunday morning laughter and pancake syrup now held silence thick enough to choke me. Marissa strutted around like nothing had happened, like I was the one who had broken our family by daring to confront her. She started snapping at me over the smallest things. If I left a mug in the sink, see, this is what I mean, Daniel. You can't handle life without me. If I didn't answer fast enough, oh, now you're giving me the silent treatment. Real mature. It was insane. She had detonated the bomb, and somehow I was supposed to sweep up the rubble. The kids, they felt it too. Our daughter stopped asking for bedtime stories and started drawing pictures of two houses. Our son kept asking if Max could sleep in his room every night. Kids always know more than you think. The only person I could unload to was my best friend, Mark. We were sitting in his garage with a couple of beers, surrounded by the smell of oil and dust. I showed him the blurry photos. He let out a low whistle. Man, she didn't even try to hide it, did she? I forced a laugh. At least she didn't run off with the milkman. Amazon just delivers faster. Mark didn't laugh back. He just put a hand on my shoulder. You don't deserve this, Dan. She's not just cheating on you. She's tearing apart your whole family. You've got to think about the kids now. That's when it hit me hardest. This wasn't just my heartbreak. This was their reality now too. That night, as Max curled up at my feet and the kids slept upstairs, I stared at the ceiling and realized there was no fixing this. Marissa wasn't going to stop lying. She wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't even going to acknowledge the damage. And I had to decide whether I was going to keep bleeding out in silence, or finally walk away. I spent days in limbo, swinging between anger, grief, and this weird numbness that made me feel like I was moving underwater. Part of me thought maybe I should try therapy, not because I believed in saving the marriage, but because of the kids. Maybe, just maybe, if we sat in a room with a mediator, Marissa would finally admit the truth. So I brought it up one night, cautiously. What if we try counseling? For the kids, at least. Maybe it'll help us figure out how to move forward. She barked out a laugh, sharp and mean. Counseling? You think some stranger with a clipboard is going to make me forget how boring you are? Daniel, that's pathetic. That word again. Pathetic. I swallowed hard. I'm not talking about forgetting. I'm talking about fixing. If you care at all about this family, you'll try. She softened her voice suddenly, doing that switch she always did when she thought she was losing ground. Look, maybe I slipped up. Maybe I needed excitement. But if you had been more attentive, maybe I wouldn't have looked elsewhere. You drove me to this, Daniel. My blood went cold. Because in that moment, I saw the truth crystal clear, there was no therapy, no apology, no fixing. She didn't see herself as guilty. She saw me as the problem. I told her flat out, I don't think this marriage can be fixed. Not when you won't even admit it's broken. And just like that, the sweetness was gone. She glared at me with pure venom. Fine. You want a divorce? Don't expect me to make it easy. The kids need me more than you, and good luck getting that stupid dog. He listens to me more anyway. Max, sitting in the corner, literally growled. I swear the dog understood every word. That night, I realized my choice was already made for me. I wasn't saving a marriage. I was escaping a fire. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Filing for divorce was both the hardest and the easiest thing I've ever done. Hard, because I was officially closing the door on 12 years of history, 2 kids, and every memory I'd held onto like they were sacred. Easy, because after seeing Marissa walk into that hotel with her delivery boy soulmate, there wasn't an ounce of doubt left in me. The marriage was dead, and I refused to keep pretending otherwise. Of course, Marissa didn't take it quietly. The minute she got the paperwork, she went nuclear. First came the tears, crocodile tears, the kind where she clutched her chest and said, "How could you do this to me? To us?" As if I had been the one sneaking off to boutique hotels under the excuse of extra yoga. When the tears didn't work, she switched to rage. "You'll regret this. The kids will hate you for tearing this family apart. And Max? Forget it. He's my dog." I almost laughed in her face. Max hadn't chosen her side since the day he caught her pouring wine for the UPS guy. He'd literally growled at her the last time she tried to take him on a walk. But that's Marissa in a nutshell: lie, manipulate, and gaslight until reality bends in her favor. The custody battle was brutal. She walked into court looking like Mother Teresa, hair pulled back, soft colors, the whole devoted mom act. She claimed I was cold, obsessed with work, and too rigid to raise kids without her. I nearly choked when her lawyer said, "Mrs. H feels emotionally neglected." Neglected? She had plenty of emotional attention, just not from her husband. But here's the thing, liars always leave trails. And I had the receipts. Literally. Hotel bills, Uber rides, credit card charges for dinners I never attended. And then there was the email from our daughter's teacher about her drawing of Mommy, Daddy, me, and the man who brings boxes. When my lawyer presented that in court, even the judge raised an eyebrow. Marissa tried to spin it, "Oh, kids make up stories, you know how imaginative they are," but the damage was done. The evidence piled up like bricks, and she couldn't gaslight her way out of it. In the end, I was awarded primary custody. She got visitation rights, and the judge didn't even blink when Max was included in the discussion. "The dog clearly favors Mr. H," my lawyer said. Max barked on cue in the courtroom hallway, like he was testifying himself. Walking out of that courthouse was surreal. I should have felt triumphant, but mostly I felt hollow. Divorce isn't a victory, it's a funeral for a life you thought you were living. But under the grief was something else too, relief. For the first time in months, I wasn't choking on lies. Marissa, of course, didn't give up her games. She sent me texts dripping with venom, "The kids will realize you turned them against me." Or she'd swing back to fake sweetness, "Maybe we can talk, for old time's sake." I ignored most of them. The only messages I cared about were from my kids. And Max, who was permanently glued to my side like my four-legged bodyguard. At night, when the house was finally quiet, I'd sit on the couch with Max's head in my lap, staring at the empty spot where Marissa used to sit. And I realized that spot wasn't empty, it was finally clean. No lies. No manipulation. Just silence. A silence I could finally live with. The weeks after the court decision felt like stepping into a brand new life I hadn't asked for, but one I had no choice but to build. Divorce leaves you raw, stripped down, like someone ripped the floorboards out of your home and told you to keep walking anyway. But slowly, piece by piece, I started putting down new planks. The first thing I did was create structure for the kids. They were already used to my color-coded spreadsheets, bedtime, school pickup, soccer practice, but now I turned those into anchors. I wanted them to know that even if their mom was inconsistent, I wouldn't be. Pancake Sundays became sacred. Movie nights became non-negotiable. Max insisted on joining both, often sprawling across all three of us like he was reminding us we were still a pack. At first, the kids asked about Marissa a lot. They were confused, sometimes angry. Our daughter wanted to know why Mommy has a new best friend. Our son, ever blunt, asked if the UPS guy was going to live with us now. I told them the truth, not every detail, not the ugliness, but the bones of it. Mommy made choices that hurt our family, and now we live in 2 houses. It wasn't the fairy tale they deserved, but it was the truth. And unlike Marissa, I refused to build their world on lies. Meanwhile, Marissa tried to play her games. She'd show up for visitation dressed like she was on a magazine cover, pretending to be the perfect mother in public, then dump the kids on her parents so she could run off with whoever was keeping her entertained that week. The kids started noticing. They'd come home and tell me, Mommy was busy, or Mommy forgot our project. Every time, I swallowed the urge to say, I told you so. Instead, I listened, hugged them, and made sure they knew I wasn't going anywhere. The strangest part. I started sleeping better. At first, it was weird, waking up in a bed that felt too big, too quiet. But then I realized the quiet was peace. No fake laughs about broccoli prices. No late-night, yoga, excuses. Just me, the kids, and Max snoring like a chainsaw at the foot of the bed. Friends asked me if I'd start dating again. Honestly, the idea of trusting someone new felt impossible. Love, for me, had become this fragile glass I was afraid to touch. But I knew time had a way of healing. For now, my energy went into being the dad my kids needed, and the man Max already thought I was. One night, Mark came over for beers in the garage. He asked how I was holding up. I told him the truth, it hurts, but it's cleaner pain. Better than choking on lies every day. He nodded, then grinned. At least you got Max. And hey, you don't have to pretend to like broccoli talk anymore. We laughed. It felt good to laugh without bitterness. Life wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was real. And after 12 years of living in a marriage built on her fake smiles and my blind faith, real was the greatest gift I could ask for.